to the Senate.
Without objection, we are adjourned until 10 o'clock tomorrow.
We adjourned it.
Yeah.
All right, so there you have it. The session of
Yeah,
the
but
U.S. Senate ending with a rather emotional, powerful tribute to Capitol Police officers, especially Officer Eugene Goodman, who all did such incredible work on January 6th, saving lives, dealing with this, and this hero, Officer Eugene Goodman, was just awarded a Congressional Gold Medal. This is a really symbolically and substantively a very important moment indeed, and you saw the standing ovations that the Republicans and the Democrats, they all gave Officer Eugene Goodman. This concludes also the question and answer portion of the Trump impeachment trial. They went on Q&A for about 2.5 hours. The proceedings now racing toward a final vote that's expected to happen tomorrow. I'm Wolf Blitzer. I'm here in the Situation Room with our special live coverage. During the question and answer session that we all just watched, we got a window into the thinking of the 3 Republicans who we know are open potentially to convicting the former President Donald Trump, Senators Mitt Romney, Susan Collins, and Lisa Murkowski. They pressed for details about what Trump did to stop the deadly insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, and when he knew that the then Vice President Mike Pence was in real danger, not only Pence, but his family as well. They were all in the U.S. Senate. They didn't get much of an answer from the former president's lawyers, who spent only a few hours defending him earlier in the day. Lots of drama unfolding. Jake?
Thanks, Wolf. That's right. And I'm here in studio with Abby, Phillip, and Dan.
We'll do what we can.
A lot to talk about. One of the things that comes to mind is, unlike impeachment trials that we've seen in the past, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump's impeachment a year ago, I have never seen a set of lawyers so outmatched than the Trump defense attorneys. First of all, Castor is a former prosecutor from outside Philly. Vanderveen is a personal injury attorney. They just were outmatched. They do not know the Constitution as well as Jamie Raskin and the others. They were indignant, as if they were trying to appeal to a jury in a Philly courtroom or in Norristown, and they acted as if the president was up on criminal charges, talking about the standard, and that's not what this is. This is a constitutional proceeding about whether or not President Trump should be penalized according to the obligations under his office, not as if he's going to go to jail. So before we get to the questions, I mean, by the way, not that I think it's going to matter. I think ultimately people are not going to vote based on who the better lawyer was, but they really were outmatched. And I mean, the legal team that Trump had last year with Jay Sekulow and Alan Dershowitz and others, I mean, just leaps and bounds better than this one.
Yeah, and one of them, I mean, talk about, read the room, dude. He says to them at what point, boy, this is the worst experience I've had in Washington. I have in a place.
A new one for her because
that was ransacked.
Her last
People
one was
almost
shot.
lost their lives, and some did, because of the very insurrection that the president is on trial for. Right there, it was really remarkable, and that really was.
Nothing.
It was the tone and the tenor that he set that was clearly exactly what his client wanted. I mean, he was channeling Donald Trump in a way that I've seen few people do.
I think this is one of the things that is like, hey, we're going to try.
He deserved, and probably the only lawyers at this point of the few that he could find.
She ain't even got a camera.
But you're absolutely right, Jake.
They
were outmatched on the basic questions that they were arguing. Not the least of which was the constitutionality of the trial, which, by the way, was put to bed and put to rest a couple of days ago. And the fact that they didn't, not only did they not answer a lot of the senators' questions, even potentially on the fence senators like Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, and maybe even told them something that wasn't true. I don't know how that's going to go over.
And also, just Abby, I mean, Mike Vanderveen, just to put a note on this, like, he's a personal injury attorney in Philadelphia. He is used to expressing indignance in front of a jury about a cyclist hit and killed by a SEPTA bus on the Schuylkill Expressway. That is what he is there to, and I'm sure it plays well. I'm sure that plays well when you have an actual victim that you're representing.
Right.
Who thinks that Donald Trump is a victim?
Donald Trump.
Right, other than Donald
I mean,
Trump.
the whole point is that this was not about senators in the room, and you saw that because he, in some sort of insulted two of the senators that he kind of wants to keep on his side. It wasn't about them. It was about Trump, and Donald Trump's spokesperson, Jason Miller, basically confirmed on Twitter that his boss is happy with Van der Veen's performance today. So we know what that was all about. But, you know, on the substance, I mean, I thought it was really spectacular how, in a bad way, how he actually not only failed to defend Trump on some really predictable charges, this idea that Trump did not care about what happened to his vice president, which we know based on the facts of what unfolded that day is likely to be true, but he didn't even attempt to defend Trump on that basis, and in fact called, you know, a senator, Tommy Tuberville, basically a liar for saying that he told Trump that Pence was in danger. So there was some real malpractice on his part, and the contrast was so stark on the Democratic side, where they were prepared, they had their notes, they knew to anticipate a lot of these questions, but they were also, I think more importantly than that, they were prosecuting their case while answering the questions, which is actually what this Q&A section is all about. They're supposed to, it's a continuation of the case, and the Trump side never even bothered to do that. He was trying to create a spectacle.
And look, the Trump team down in Mar-a-Lago
They
could
fucked
have
up
told
bad.
the lawyers, if they ask, as Senator Susan Collins and Senator Murkowski did, if they ask Anderson, when did the president know about the breach and what did he do about it?
I got
here are the
married part.
answers.
That's all
but
I
they
know.
didn't, which to me
I
seems
could download
kind of
more.
damning. Same thing with Mitt Romney and Bill
Which one?
Cassidy, wondering, well, what about when
I already
Pence
had
was
it.
being threatened?
But what happened
And
was I downloaded it
what
on a
did
different hard
Trump
drive.
know about that? Again, Mar-a-Lago could have told Van der Veen, Castor, and the others, this is what the president did, but they didn't provide that information. Again, I don't think this is going to matter because this is going to be a rather partisan vote, but it really was damning in its omission.
Which may be why they didn't choose to give them that information. A, because it is damning, and B, because it doesn't really matter for the Republican senators in that room. We have a legal panel here. Eliona, what did you make of what we just witnessed?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, Anderson, I think we saw the
really
lawyers operating on two separate planes there. I think the House impeachment managers were all about facts. What did Donald Trump do on January 6th? What happened on January 6th? And Trump's lawyers were all about anything else, anything in the world but. And I hope people don't mistake what we just saw for real-life, meaningful cross-examination, because what we saw was each side sort of lobbing softballs to their own side. I would like to see a little more challenging of the other side's case across the aisle. And I think the single most important question was the one Jake just mentioned. What did the president know? When did he know it? And the answer from the lawyers was a combination of one tweet and how am I supposed to know? I mean, that is so damning that they weren't able to answer that with any substance.
Even the information which has come out over the last couple of days from Senator Tommy Tuberville about the conversation he had with the president in which he informed the president that Mike Pence had been removed.
Oh shit, who the fuck is that?
That wasn't even acknowledged by the president's attorney.
No, because apparently in their minds, the way to actually advocate was just to repeat the words due process, hoping it would stick to the wall someplace. Due process is not a synonym for deflection, but apparently it was today. The lawyers, in response to the basic question which was asked, and give us specific details as to what then President Trump was doing while we were all running for our lives. Due process, due process. We don't know. We don't have an investigation. Well, you've
This
written
is
in the
not for
brief
me.
that you knew the answer. There was a flurry of activity, and you called
there's
the
a lot
House
of
impeachment
activity out
managers'
there
briefs
right now.
lies because they said that you did
Damn, what-
nothing. You provided no
Nah, man.
information.
I smell no
What really
activity.
bothered me was after all of that conversation and the sort of the throwing the weight around by Van der Veen in particular, hoping that if you show enough bravado and indignation that somehow it'll translate to persuasive advocacy, it does not. It does not unless you actually answer the questions. And he made this one statement which said, hey, Raskin can't tell you why you acquit. You can choose any reason you want. Well, actually, a Senate impeachment decision is not appealable. So when they said that it was constitutional, that became the law. So he's actually telling the senators, you can rely on something that's no longer an issue, like a jurisdictional, constitutional argument, and now choose what you'd like. It's not a choose your own adventure. It's an impeachment about the incitement of a riot by a president of the United States. They didn't answer the question. They deflected. They mistook belligerence for actual substance. It was unpersuasive.
Well, I think it remains to be seen, right? Whether it was persuasive or unpersuasive. We're going to know tomorrow during the vote. We saw 6 senators, 6 Republican senators, say that there was jurisdiction. I'll be very interested to see how those 6 Republican senators.
That's what they're going to say. There's no
I think the point the
jurisdiction.
Trump lawyers were trying to make, that I think actually may have persuaded, and may not persuade us, it may not persuade the general public, it may have persuaded perhaps some of these 6 Republican senators, and maybe the other Republicans, is about the process that unfolded. I think what they were trying to say is, you brought the former president of the United States in here. You're talking about taking this dramatic consequence of disqualifying him from running for office in the future. It's commonly accepted that the House managers have the burden of proof, and that burden is high. And what they're saying is the House managers didn't meet their burden, and that it's not up to them to go out and find evidence to help the House managers meet their burden. The House managers decided when to impeach. They decided when to transmit the articles. The Senate Democrats decided when to hold the trial. And now here we are, and they're saying the House managers haven't brought their case.
I have it both ways, though, because what they're saying is, as well, Ross, that you've done this too quickly and too slowly at the same time. Due process is notice and opportunity to be heard. They were given notice. They admit that they had the information beforehand. They offered to have the then president, now former president of the United States, testify and give his answers. They chose not to. So it's not as if there was no way for them to get that
got
It's less about due process and more about
Is that a lot
satisfying
to
the
ask
burden of
for?
proof. And in terms of
Grab that controller and go to Chef G.
The jurisdictional issue. I think what they're doing is harkening
Chef
back
G.
to the single time
G.
this has happened in our history, the Belknap case,
Go back.
in the 1800s, where the Senate voted in favor of jurisdiction, but then Belknap was acquitted, and most of those
Get
who
out of
voted to
here.
acquit,
Get out of here.
so that
Just
the
hit the
reason
home button.
is that they didn't
We're out
believe
of
in
here.
jurisdiction.
But I think if they knew.
I just wanna see how it was
Do you
gonna end up.
I'm not a lawyer, I'm just watching this. Do you presume that if they,
Man, this fucking phone. I need to get a white one. Do I even have white ones? Nah, she's gonna get black. Fuck it.
Just leave it on.
There you go to YouTube. And then type in Chef G.
Alright, so I extracted this one, right?
What is it? WBFS or is it ISO?
Just
That's the main thing. You gotta make sure you're dropping the same bombs in there. You might be dropping the wrong thing in there. Houston, we got a problem.
it says USA English Japan. So.
Alright, just give me a minute. I'll check it.
Chef Keith.
No. Chef G. That's it. It's no more to him.